Hello again. Nice to see you. I know I look fancy and all that. Trust me, I'm not. I literally have no socks on. I'm not gonna show you guys. Terve kalastajat, mun nimi on John ja tervetuloa taas mun kanavalle. Tänään me reagoidaan Blacky Speaks uuteen videoon. Muistatteko te Lil Xanin? Että Lil Xan tuli siihen aikaan, kun Lil Pump ja 6ix9ine tuli niinku se juttu, missä oli Lil Tape ja kaikki tällä. Era of rap. It was her.
Manager was supplying me with the drugs. He knew all my plugs, so if I couldn't perform because I was withdrawing back then, because yes, I used to be a drug addict.
Oh no.
Now, Lil Xan, as you could hear, clearly has something on his mind. You heard what Lil Xan said though. My manager was supplying me with drugs. That's something he came out and said the other day. That's been making headlines. I wanted to talk about it and give you my take on it. So yeah, let's talk about it. Now, goddamn, Lil Xan the man. Lil Xan.
Mä vaan muistan sen yhden biisin, mikä se teki. Se oli joku Drugs will take you. Drugs won't make you tai jotain.
Lil Xan. The last time I talked about him, I made a video reminiscent about those comments he made about Tupac, which had a severe impact on the decline of his career. Before that, we also had a conversation.
Tupac? Väittikö, että se ei tiedä, kuka on Tupac? Bruh, don't even start that game. Okay, let's continue.
Not a lot of people talk about Lil Xan these days though. He was one of those rappers who had a little moment and then kind of just disappeared with time. With that being
That's why they call them little rappers. They have little moments and take to the past. I'm just kidding. Kaikki räppäjät on hyviä.
said, let's talk about what Lil Xan said the other day. Now, the other day, Lil Xan posted a video on his Instagram where he was talking about a couple things. Lil Xan posted this video on IG where he was essentially putting his ex-manager, who goes by the name of Stat Quo. Lil Xan made some very bold claims, alleging that his ex-manager played a part in his addiction, so much to the point where he was supplying him with the drugs that he was taking.
Oh man. Siis mä oon kuullut tällaisesta jutusta, niinku, jopa Lil Peepin niinku, managerista, kuulemma sekin myi sille huumeita ja tälleen. Jopa Mac Millerinkin niinku, sillä oli sama homma. Joka on todella hämärää, sillä niinku, miksi ihmeessä joku artistin manageri myisi sille aineita, joka varmasti niinku, pahentaisi sen artistin kehittymistä tai niinku, hyvinvointia. Se on todella outoa. Mä en tiedä miksi tälleen tapahtuu, mutta musiikkibusiness on just
that he was taking.
And I just wanted to bring up a topic. Do you guys remember the whole Lil Peep, the story where his management
Mä sanoin teille, mä just äsken kerroin tästä hommasta. Lil Peepillekin tehtiin tää koko homma. En mä oo siis iloinen, että tapahtunut.
and well, that happened to me on tour, and my manager's name. Well, I don't even like to call him my manager anymore. Stat Quo. Remember that name, Stat Quo. Because I was on tour through 2018 to 2000. Whatever, the world tours with Nicki and Juice and all that. My manager was supplying me with the drugs. Because I was withdrawing back then, because yes, I used to be a drug addict. You know, he would make calls, send $5,000 out here, $5,000 out here, just to ship the drugs to wherever we're at in the world.
What? Why? But why? It's weird.
To wherever we're at in the world.
So Lil Xan was pretty much saying this person, his ex-manager, played a pivotal part in my addiction. He was the one who was supplying me with the drugs that I was taking. Lil Xan then continued by saying this.
I almost died on tour multiple times from him supplying me drugs anytime I needed it, because I couldn't perform if I was withdrawing. And I've always wanted to make this case known. He is a terrible fucking human being.
Se on oikeesti todella kauhea. Kelatkaa, että niinku Lil Xanillekin olisi voinut tapahtua samalla lailla. Ihan hyvä vaan, että ei tapahtunut sille. Se on ollut todella kauheeta ja siinä olisi ollut toinen tarina, että nuori artisti menehtyy ja tälleen. Mä oon todella onnellinen, että se niinku lopetti ja näki, että se manageri oli huono sille.
Continued by saying a couple more things, one of them being, this is why I haven't dropped another album. So according to Lil Xan, his addiction played a part in his fall off, which that's not surprising. We're gonna talk about that later.
Mä vähän ihmettelinkin, mitä sillä tapahtui, mutta tiiäks, tää on sinänsä aika hyvä juttu, sillä Feimillä ei ole sinänsä niin paljon väliä. Niinku, terveys on kaikista tärkeintä ja on hyvä, että niinku, Lil Xan näki sen ja päätti, että se aikoo keskittyä sen terveyteen, joka on todella.
And on top of that, he touched on labels milking artists who are dead by saying things like a dead artist is easier to manage because they're not here. Obviously, that was him saying this.
Oh my days, that's not okay. That's not okay. That's not okay.
You know, the industry just sucks, and that's a big reason why I haven't dropped another album, is because it put such a bad taste after I got sober. It put such a bad taste in my mouth, like, to even want to make music, knowing how fucked the industry is. They just want to keep you alive long enough to make their fucking money, and if you die, even better for them, because guess what? It's easier to manage a dead artist than an alive one. And
that's so deep. That's true though. But you guys notice that the music business is so effed up. With labels, it's really complicated. They take your money, most of your money. If you don't like make them money, they will drop you. So that's not okay. So find a good label if you're trying to make music, or find good people to work around. If possible, the best result is to make your own label, so you can take your own money. A quote from John.
Started going crazy on social media, and this is what he said. So glad I could finally bring the story to light. And am I putting 100% of the blame on him? No, I was a drug addict. How could I? Am I telling you that he was doing nothing but speeding up my drug abuse by supplying me with the very pills that could have killed me? Yes. I'm making this public because I know in my heart this happens way too often, and it's how we end up losing some of the greatest artists way too young. These people must answer for their crimes. I remember days on tour, my security would have to check on me to see if I was still breathing, but as long as I was medicated enough to get on stage and make that bag for me and the team, everything was all good. LOL, what a joke. So I think you get the gist of what Lil Xan is saying. At my most vulnerable state, when I was addicted, my ex-manager contributed to my addiction by supplying me with a bunch of drugs. There's a couple things I want to bring up here.
Well, I want to bring up that kids don't do drugs. I know we're just kids, but seriously, some kids, even in this country, every country does drugs. I know I want to try, but when you try, you get addicted, start to do it once in a while, and all of a sudden you do it every night. You're trying to get stronger drugs when the previous one doesn't hit you anymore. The next thing you know, you're in a grave.
Accountability. Is the picture Lil Xan is painting a possible scenario? Absolutely, this actually does happen in the industry, let's just make that clear. But the music industry aside, if someone is an addict, obviously their environment plays a huge part in their addiction. Environment being who they're around. If the people they're around are enabling their addiction in any kind of way, well, then there you have it, okay? We know the outcome of that. With that being said, if you took the drugs, then you took the drugs. That's something we gotta bring up.
Yeah, that's true.
Easier said than done, like Juice said, but that's a very relevant perspective here. That aside, Lil Xan's addiction has played a part in his fall off. I think that's kind of obvious. I mean, we all saw how bad Lil Xan was looking a while back. I also think it's important to bring up the fact that if you're a young artist in the music industry like Lil Xan is, and you're susceptible to addiction, it's not gonna go too well for you. The industry is just not a productive environment for beating one's addiction, and that's due to the crazy fast lifestyle a lot of these artists are living and have access to. So it's easy to get caught up in the moment by using the drugs as a way to escape all the shit that comes with being in that kind of position. Also,
yeah, you literally don't have to live that fast life to be cool the way you are. If you're just being yourself, that makes you cool. You don't have to try to be cool. Try to be yourself. And if you don't know yourself, try to find yourself. Quote that, I'm just kidding. Okei, tää video on aika pitkä. Mutta tossa oli basically mitä mä halusin puhua. Toi oli hyvä. Mä laitan linkin tonne videoon. Tilatkaa toi kanava, sillä se on todella hyvä. Painakaa peukkuu, jos piditte videosta. Tiedätte mitä tehdä, jos te ootte uusia. Joo, tää video oli tästä.